So,
Okay.
yeah, it's so hard to know what to cover. Like, I was just like, there's so many things, but
There's a lot in that. There's a lot
you,
there.
yeah, but I feel like if, so, because I wasn't sure even target audience, like, who do you think is listening mostly? Do you know what I mean?
This is the
Yeah, we
problem.
don't
You have no idea of the experience level of the practitioner.
No. So that's why I was trying to give like a little bit of like, trying to like, not use too technical terms all the time.
Yeah.
So try to just simplify.
Because I think you've got to build it and people will come, but you don't know who's going to come. We kind of put an umbrella term of the word performance attracts some people that are in training, and then physical therapies attracts, because it's an umbrella term for anyone who works in our field. It's not a physio field, not a physio talk at all.
Yeah.
We wanted to create an umbrella term that was receptive to everybody. And I don't think we need to dumb it down at all. And I think the skill that you've got is synonymous with other presenters here in the class. And that's why we brought you in here, is taking complex things and then being able to describe it simply.
So the really interesting thing I think is, even with when people think, oh yeah, like, I do you, like, yeah, I've done some sciatic nerve stretching, but they still think about it so locally. That's where I feel like people fall down. It's like, but it's not just one nerve by itself that's tight. There's going to be something else going on, so I was trying to highlight the fact that it's such an integrated system, and just remembering that all the time. And that the psychological side is huge. Yeah.
I do have some questions.
Yep.
I do. I'll start with a comment. When you talked about the vagus nerve being the queen, I felt marginalized. I'll just start with that.
I was like, I thought I'd just bring a bit of like femininity into it.
You'll get over it, Rod.
Okay, I'll move on. Hang on.
It looks like some apical breathing. I'm not
so
sure.
Pretty. It's so pretty.
Very apical.
Tina, one of the things I was really interested in, when you talk to people about recovery, did you get, given you've treated some of the most gifted athletes in the world,
yeah,
did you get a different response from those very, very elite professional athletes compared to the average person?
It's interesting because a lot of people are doing what they think the elite people are doing. Like, so even though they're not a professional, they're like, oh, they're all drinking these sports supplement drinks, and they're all, going for a rub down afterwards, or booking in to have the compression boots on to help with, reduce lactate. So it's interesting, like more and more people are doing these sort of things. And yeah, so
majoring in the minors.
It's really interesting, the mind shift that people are realizing they have to do recovery, but I don't think they understand it well.
I thought your obturator nerve glide was really interesting, and then I thought, and I was watching Scott do his 3D trunk mobilizations in the last few days when his masterclass was on, and I look at those and I think, the Bretzel 1, the Bretzel 2, and the Bretzel 3, they kind of hit so many three-dimensional fascial elongate, let's call it fascial health training, or neuromobilisation.
Yep.
But you could take the Bretzel 2 and that front knee could be extended, so you get a little bit of elongation, and then you could floss your obturator nerve with some inversion of the ankle while the person's coming out of neural tension. And as they go back into it, you could release perineal nerve. And so you take Bretzel 2 and you think, I wonder if this could be one of the best bigger bang for buck exercises, because if you suddenly sensitize it a little, you get obturator, you get sciatic, you can get your, big
perineal branch.
Perineal branch.
Yeah.
And when you talked about those confluence points of thorax and midline and gut, and neck and spine and thorax and pelvis, you think, well, I can actually target all of those with some of these great big bang for buck exercises.
Totally, yeah.
I spotted that for sure. Your slide on reading the body, it speaks really well to one of the courses that you've taken with us, and the Rod and I teach, being the SFMA, is that one of the ways to read the body is to have criteria about when you say it's okay to have variation, and I'm going to read the body and say, you know what, I can see variation, but it's okay. But it's when the variation becomes so extreme that you make a clinical decision to step in and intervene.
Yeah.
But to do that, you've got to have criteria that says, while it's very common that we see movement problems, common doesn't necessarily mean normal. And to be able to read the body, you should have some criteria about what's normal. And then it smacked me in the face that what you said was the same as, again, Scott. He was saying your habits become your anatomy.
Yeah.
And you were saying that the way that a person adopts a posture tells you about some of the trauma that they may have had or the behaviors that they adopt.
Yeah.
And then they start to move that way. And Scott said, the habits that you have turn into the anatomy. We see that through bone trabecular change.
Strain patterns in bones.
I had a phrase a long time ago that says, you move how you think and you think how you move. And it basically, the idea behind that is it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm concerned about all these kids who are sitting in front of these Xboxes all day, and I feel like their posture, you've got these tall, lanky kids, and, these long, great spines, and they're just so kyphotic and they've just got such poor mobility. Yeah. And that's just who they become. And they just stay unless someone changes that.
As this happens during developmental years as well, I wonder if longer term we're actually going to see a different shape in joints, like say facet joints, for example, in the neck. They will take on a different shape because it's happened during developmental years as opposed to us.
Yeah.
We've already developed and now we're doing it as a postural habit.
Yeah.
I
think growth periods are interesting changes. Like when you see kids go through puberty, I find that that's when you see lots of things are changing. Obviously hormones are crazy, but that's when you see a lot of the posturals, they take on these postures where I feel like they sort of become set after that. Mm-hmm. If you don't intervene at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a client just recently who's wanting to return to football and therefore wants to do some strength and conditioning and lose a little bit of weight. And his screening from his coach ended up sending him my direction. And the big things that smacked me in the face was that he often goes to sleep around 2 a.m., waking up about 8 because he's playing Xbox all until that time of night, and drinks about 1 litre of water a day.
How old?
Early 20s.
Okay.
And has pain with movement. And so a person like that who wants to undergo a strength and conditioning program, you either have to be pretty careful about how you get them to reach and push and pull and lift and carry and challenge. I mean, I thought it was fantastic that you gave that slide that talked about empowering the nervous system and the different ways that you could do that. And I think we could do that with someone like him, but we had to be very clear and say, if you want to empower your musculoskeletal system, you have to support it with sleep and hydration as a fundamental. And of course, move forward after that. I thought your slide on empowering nervous system was fascinating. It allows you to see things in a different way.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying, Greg, is that the environment in which his nervous system operates has to change.
Yeah.
If it's a crappy environment, our interventions, I don't think, make much difference.
No, exactly right. And especially if, he's someone who, the coach is saying, I need him stronger, I need him faster. All those things, you can only get so much out of someone if they don't have the foundation there. So educating them about that is super important.
Yeah, the nervous system allows strength. So you can't get any more out of your nervous system than it would allow you to. And so you often see people get stronger, not because you did strength training, it's because you supported the nervous system. And then it, like an inner child, says, now I will give you more strength. I'm in charge of you. If you look after me, I'll give you more strength rather than put you down. So
Tina was talking about recovery. One of the things I thought, and I do say this to just people, not even athletes necessarily, is that you're not getting better because of the exercise. You're getting better because of the recovery that the exercise has stimulated. And I think that's a real mind shift that people can make. And start to understand So it's not the sprinting that's doing it. It's the recovery from the sprinting that's allowing you to adapt.
And the 19 days of having inflammatory markers in endurance athlete doesn't surprise me. And again, Scott had a similar slide of how long certain effects of training will last in your body after you stress it. And mitochondrial regeneration can again take weeks. And so you think about how we can assist people who are preparing for individual peak events, whether that be a pursuit for time, such as a race, or whether it be an event that requires technical proficiency, like a golf tournament, is that you may need to be thinking 19 days out, T minus 19, if we're going to use a strict number, on a taper, and say for the last 3 weeks of your preparation leading up to this event, you've already done the work. You now need 3 weeks of preparing your nervous system to give it to you. And you could fill up 3 weeks with all the different exercises that you gave yourself there. And if people struggle to understand whether that's going to be enough, it's very easy to do strength testing during that 3 weeks and watch them get stronger without actually doing strength training.
Yeah. Greg, one of the things I've found really difficult with really pro-level MMA fighters is their last week before the event should be a really big taper week. And trying to get them to actually think more about recovery than training is really difficult. And one of the reasons you have to do that is because they're going to go through a shocking weight cut. So if they're training hard and they're trying to weight cut, and I've seen this happen a number of times, they hit the event and they just die in the first round. There's got nothing left to give. And it's like their nervous system has just taken such a shock that it hasn't got any more to give.
Yeah. I know. And this is when I think that really highlights how important tapering is for people. But if they don't understand it, you need to sort of, show them the timeline to just make it really clear and how that replenishment just doesn't happen. So it affects everything then.
I was so pleased in your reading the body slide. I want to revisit that again, because not just in the SFMA level 1 course, but in another one that Rodney came up with recently, and even the MSP course that I've taught in the past, we want to try to give people the skill that took us 10 to 20 years to acquire. And one of the ways you can do that is give them not shortcuts in experience, but shortcuts in
learning
how to read the body. And for example, if you're watching somebody move and you see a withdrawal from that movement, or you see a wince, or you see an eye blink, or you see the breath switch from diaphragmatic to apical, these are all signs that the nervous system says, oh, nope, you've overwhelmed me, or you've taken me in a direction I don't want to go. And in the MSP course I mentioned, there's 2 phrases that really tell you whether motor control's off. It's clean and easy, or it's dirty and difficult.
Yeah.
And when it's easy, you see good breathing. And so that phrase, clean and easy, actually incorporates the breathing component.
Yeah.
And the clean part says that you don't see somebody withdraw, wince, or move out of a plane of movement. So it's not clean if you see someone get jerky movement.
Yeah.
If it's the opposite of clean being dirty, and the opposite of easy being difficult. So I thought the reading of the body is such an important thing. And, our watchers today should understand that this is not a throwaway line. Reading the body takes a little bit of expertise.
Yeah.
And there are key things in what you mentioned. Watch for the breathing to change.
Yeah.
For a withdrawal or a movement away from a posture.
Yeah.
Watch for a deviation in smoothness. If it becomes jerky, then the nervous system is saying, I don't have coordination of this movement.
Yeah. Now, I want people to think about neuromobilization, though, as not just like a nerve glide. It's about freeing the nervous system. That's what we're essentially saying, mobilizing the entire system.
Mm-hmm. But also the nutritional component for the nervous system is the same. It's freeing the nervous system because you're balancing out your inhibitors and activators over activity. And if it's freer, it's more to express based on the stresses that have been applied to it. Let's wrap up with 3 of our favorite questions for our presenters. The first one is, what book are you reading right now, if you are reading one?
There's actually one at the moment. It's actually all, it's just systemic tension, and it's all pelvic related. So women's health. Yeah. So yeah, it's actually not, it's not bad, but it's more visceral based. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That might lead us into the second question. When you take stillness in your day and go, I'm totally fascinated by this particular person doing something in the world, is there anyone that's got your attention?
Yeah. It's probably someone, this gentleman on YouTube who's he cooks with, he does fermented foods. So I've become fascinated with the fermentation process of sourdough bread.
Okay.
and how that is so much more digestible, and how it takes so much pressure off our system, our digestive system. It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, do you know his name so we can tell people in case they're interested?
Yep. So it's Bake with Jack is his YouTube channel.
That'll do just.
And he's great, but he talks all about, how to read your bacteria, and so it's great. So the starter of your sourdough is essentially like the nervous system for your bread. There you go, Greg. So if you don't look after your starter, you end up with a very flat, sad bread. But if you feed your starter and you nurture it and it's healthy, then you get amazing, big holes in your bread, nice fluffy loaf, and it rises really well. So the performance of your starter is based on how well it is, how good it is nutritionally. How's that?
What a metaphor, man. That's basically saying look after your fundamentals forever.
Oh, I was going to say that there's nothing one-dimensional about Tina.
Now, our final question to you is, we give you 2 weeks off and a bucket load of cash and no restrictions on travel or anything else. What do you do?
Oh, I'd go to Europe again.
And eat Italian sourdough bread. All right, that brings us to our end of the masterclass, and I'm sure we're going to get big discussions, and you're going to get invitations to come back to this summit again.